Hey everyone, this is Jay, also known as jaynemesis on eToro, and this is our weekly update for week 36 of 2018. Our top news this week, Amazon has hit a total market cap in excess of $1 trillion. They are the second company to do so behind Apple. This is pretty big news, obviously. A lot of hype around this in Wall Street, and a lot of celebration, I guess, for some reason. This means that Jeff is now by far the world's richest man. He's worth around $160 billion. Amazon actually, interestingly, doesn't make all that much money from its retail operations anymore. Most of the big chunk of their income these days comes from their Amazon Web Services and some of the other similar cloud services that they offer. Next up, Tesla CEO Elon Musk has appeared on the Joe Rogan podcast. So this is called the Joe Rogan Experience. Elon Musk did a lot of pretty questionable and strange things during this podcast, which is over 2 hours long. The piece that has been highlighted the most is that Elon allegedly smoked some weed. You can actually see this. This is a video, so you can watch him smoke weed live on the podcast. He also got numerous messages from a friend during the podcast advising him against taking certain actions and being more sensible in what he says and does. It was a pretty interesting watch. They discussed a lot of different topics. The most interesting thing for me, I think, is the way in which Elon appears to come across, which is honestly quite lonely and stressed out. And kind of scatterbrained and all over the place. He repeatedly talks about not getting enough sleep and how he tries to split his time between doing lots of things. And he kind of talks himself down quite a lot as well, which is kind of interesting to watch. It doesn't really help Tesla at the moment when they're already in a situation where they're a bit fearful about how Elon has been handling himself online and the PR situation that Tesla has left themselves in. But that being said, I don't think it ended up too bad for them. Trading stats this week, minus 10.19% portfolio change, minus 0.8% realized profit. 22 trades were closed, 21 of which were profitable and 7 of which were unprofitable. Our most traded instrument this week was AMD. Just to touch on the portfolio change, obviously there was a really big swing in cryptocurrencies this week that I did not predict or anticipate at all. So I really had no defenses set up for this. Obviously, I can't use stop losses on eToro anymore. So unless I'm at my computer when the drop starts, there's really not very much I can do. And unfortunately, I was not around when most of this was taking place. So unfortunately, we've just kind of had to take that on the chin. So let's look at some of our crypto trades from the past week. Dash, we had 2 positions closed. One was for minus 4% profit, and the other was for plus 1.4% profit. So a small loss overall. Dash has been an interesting instrument over the past few weeks. It seems to have shown a lot more resilience recently, and has in fact increased its standing in things like CoinMarketCap by a reasonable amount, and seems to be on a path back towards the top 10 again. Which is reassuring for me because I'm a big supporter of Dash. I do think it's a really strong project. And I think that they have been doing some important work and made some good progress. I've obviously talked about Dash in Venezuela quite a bit in the past as well. So I'm still pretty bullish on Dash, to be honest. And I think that when this market does turn around, we will see Dash perform well and find its way back up into that top 10 again. Next up, Bitcoin. So again, 2 trades in Bitcoin this week. Both of these were closed at a loss, one for just shy of 10% and the other for minus 2.5%. Both of these were closed defensively, basically, as the bear move was unfolding. So it was after the first move, basically, that these were closed, and I decided to protect against a potential move back down to the kind of 5.9K-ish area that we've tested several times already. Although, again, I'm still kind of surprised by this move and what's happened here. So not great, but certainly I think I've hopefully managed to reduce the damage that we've taken a little bit with these positions. Finally, our last trade was in Ethereum. So this is a really long trade that I've been holding on to for a pretty long time. As you guys know, I am a big supporter of EOS, and I have said for some time that I think that EOS will surpass Ethereum. And I've been looking at the charts recently, and I've seen how well EOS has been in competing with Ethereum, and actually against Ethereum in the EOS to Ethereum trading pair. We've seen that EOS has actually gone up by over 50% in the last month or so. So this has driven me to decide to close yet another long-term Ethereum position and switch it for an EOS position. I just have growing confidence in EOS at this point, and really diminishing confidence in Ethereum. It just doesn't feel like Ethereum is really moving anywhere at the moment. And that bottleneck is certainly starting to hit the dApps that are running on top of Ethereum. So as a result, I moved some funds over to EOS, which did mean realizing a loss of 74.5% on that trade. Onto the stock recap. First up, AMD. So as you guys know, last week I had a great week of trading AMD. This week, pretty much the same again, really. 15 trades in total were closed, all of which were profitable. The highest profit was 12.3% and the lowest was 0.8%. This includes both long and short positions. I have now closed out all of my long positions on AMD today. So I think the last position I closed was at like 29.1 or something like that. I am now short on AMD with a couple of positions. I'm still being a little bit cautious because it's the market and you never know how it's gonna go entirely. But I do think that AMD is very, very overvalued at the moment, and I just don't really see it holding this price for very long without some sort of news coming out to back it up. The fundamentals just don't really support a price quite this high. Which is a strange thing for me to be saying because obviously I'm a big fan of AMD. I'm a big fan of their strategy and what they've been working on, but I don't think that they should be near their all-time high in price for a company that's been around for 50 years now, almost. It just seems like a really high price for them to be at. Next up, Xiaomi. I probably pronounced that terribly. I've never really known how to pronounce this company. So it's a Chinese mobile phone company. It's actually one of the biggest in the world. And I took up this position basically purely on technical analysis. I actually did the same with Western Digital and Dropbox a little bit further down as well. And effectively, this position just didn't work out. With this position, I also really kind of wanted to get some exposure to the Chinese market as well, because at the time I didn't have anything else. I'd just closed out all my Alibaba positions. I didn't really have anything else. And I wanted to keep some exposure, but put simply, it just hasn't worked out for us. And I don't think... Personally, I don't think actually that they're in that strong of a position in the mobile market, and I don't see where the revenue is going to come from, because it seems to me like for the most part, mobile phone companies are almost subsidizing their mobile phone divisions of the company. So for Sony, for example, and Samsung, they sell a lot of other products, and the mobile phone is almost like their big marketing piece. In many ways, whereas for these guys, it just doesn't feel like that's necessarily the case. Obviously, Apple is an exception to that rule, but yeah, I've kind of changed my mind on them. I figure I'd rather just take the loss now and move the funds elsewhere. Next up is Square. So again, still super bullish on Square. I keep talking about it. I'm so excited for the stuff that they're working on, and I actually have a pretty insane price target in my head for where I think they're going to be this time next year, and I think they've got a lot of room to grow, and especially if the crypto market grows and they're ready for that, and they're kind of built and in position to take advantage from that, then I think Square could be one of the biggest growth stories of the next 12 months. That being said, I am still trying to actively trade it because I think at the moment we're slightly overextended still, and we should kind of retrace back a little bit, or at least hang around this area. So as long as there's some more volatility, I hope to continue to trade it in this range. That being said, always going to make sure that I've got some long-term exposure to Square, because they're the company that I'm most confident in right now. As mentioned earlier, Western Digital and Dropbox. So Both of these were closed at pretty substantial losses. Again, these were technical trades that were basically taken because the charts were suggesting they were undervalued. I've got a bit of a bad run on Western Digital, and I think I just need to learn my lesson and just kind of steer clear from it. There are a few stocks that I'm really good at trading on the side without paying too much attention to fundamentals, but I don't think either of these two are included in that list. Dropbox is obviously still quite a new stock, so there's not as much data to work with when you're trying to perform TA. But regardless, I closed both of these for some reasonably large losses. I think one was around 14% and the other around 19%. So not great, I'm afraid, not great. Facebook. So Facebook, this is a pretty simple trade, really, just a quick day trade. I actually did the same with Amazon as well. In fact, I think they're on the same day, and these were basically just taking advantage of some volatile conditions when the market opened. I didn't use any leverage, but we still managed to get 0.4 profit on Facebook and 1% profit on Amazon. So let's take a look at our performance tab again. As you can see on the portfolio change, September, we have been off to a pretty horrible start compared to August, where we managed to return almost 4.5% profit for you guys. September so far is looking really quite bad. That being said, I should probably stress that July and August both started in similar fashion, and they both started pretty majorly down in the red. So I did recover from both of those and turn them into profits. So hopefully we can do the same here. The week 36 here really demonstrates just how big that move in cryptocurrency was, because almost all of it actually happened. Almost all of this 10% drop happened in one day. For realized trades, you can see it's kind of left us pretty much unaffected. We are down a very small amount because I did close a couple of trades, as mentioned, for a small loss. But overall, we're not really looking too bad at basically minus 0.8% on both September and week 36. So looking ahead, what's coming up? I mentioned last week that I am hopefully going to be attending two different events in London this month. That is the EOS London Hackathon, which is the third hackathon in the EOS 4 hackathon series, I guess you'd kind of call it, hosted by Block One. I will also be attending Blockchain Live, which is an event I went to last year, and it's probably the best crypto event I've ever been to. Although I would say that the London crypto investor show was also pretty good on that front as well. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to attending this again, kind of looking through some ICOs and some more fun stuff and seeing what else is going on within the crypto space as a whole. I will also be releasing my trading terminology guide. So this isn't some sort of like really in-depth Wikipedia type thing about every single trading term there is and every technical indicator. It's much more designed for people who have stumbled upon eToro because because they saw it on TV or they've seen advertisements on the London Underground or whatever it is, and they found their way to me, for example, and they're basically just confused by all of the terminology that I use pretty regularly in these videos and also, of course, in my posts on eToro itself. So I basically put together a small guide of some kind of quick terminology things that you can try and understand. If you want to know more, the best place to go, obviously, is Investopedia. That's where I learned most of my knowledge from for basics of trading and especially technical analysis. But hopefully this should kind of offer a good starting point for a lot of you guys that are trying to figure out what all the terminology means. That does it for me, guys. Thanks for watching yet again, and I will see you next week.